Welcome back to Combat Sports Weekly. I'm Jorge Hernandez, joined by Jody Esquivel.
This is a part of the show where we fight verbally, not physically, just verbally. Each guy will have 30 seconds to talk about the subject that Jorge found. And
that I found interesting.
He found interesting. If he goes over 30 seconds, I get to punch somebody. I think that's the new rules.
That's a good rule. Time for the round table. To the right of your television screen, we have a longtime member of the local combat sports community from Fit NHB, John Judy. Welcome.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, I mean, don't worry about Jody here. You know, she's got a fight coming up. She's a little cranky, so
probably a little better shape than me too.
Yeah. To the right of him, we have James Lindenmuth, 6'10", the sports animal. When can people catch you on the radio?
Every Thursday at 5:35. Although during March Madness, we're going to be going on Wednesdays at 5:35. So you know, check us out. We'd love some new listeners.
Random question: who was your March Madness pick? Very quickly.
You know, I went to University of Arizona for 2 years, so bear down Cats, and I've got the Cats winning the whole thing.
Okay, now the real questions.
Yeah.
List of 3 here that we have. Floyd Mayweather recently rejected a $5 million, I guess, positive drug test fine, if you will, to be added to a contract that was already, you know, signed between him and Manny Pacquiao. How weird is it for fighters to be asking for stuff after the contracts are already been signed?
I think you should have thought about it beforehand, or you shouldn't sign the contract.
So what do you think of this big of a fight? You know, $5 million, that's an astronomical number. And obviously they're making an astronomical amount of cash as well. So do you think something like that should have been added right at the beginning?
I think the governing body, I think they, if I'm not mistaken, they added something that the US ADA would be covering all of drug testing and whatnot. Yeah. I know that the Nevada Athletic Commission, who's going to be overseeing the fighters, recently fined an MMA fighter, Hector Lombard. They fined him. They took his win bonus away of $53,000. They took an additional 30%. Let them oversee it. Let them take the percentage based on what they see and what their policies and procedures require them to do.
James, your thoughts?
It's posturing, and we all know it is. We all know that's what it is. It's Floyd, or it's Manny's camp trying to get in. You know, in his head, you know, that there was no way, even the agents and the lawyers that were involved with the contract said it's preposterous, it's nothing that would ever have been accepted at all. So, but we're going to see this. This is going to happen for the next, you know, couple months until that fight takes place. We're going to see this back and forth with stuff like this.
$5 million is a lot of money. What do you think?
To them, I don't know that it is. You know, it's like not a big deal.
$200 million guaranteed.
Exactly. So then you're talking about $5 million, which is crazy. But we did talk about this. It's gonna be a circus leading into this fight. You know, what's positive and what's negative publicity for the fight. I don't know. I mean, I'm still excited about the fight itself. I'm excited that boxing's here, and you know, $5 million for a drug fine. Whatever. Just fight, guys.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I guess with a fight of this magnitude, it should definitely been something that was in place earlier, but I mean, that's just a huge amount of money. Obviously, as you mentioned, it's not necessarily for them, but right. What do you guys expect from the circus that's going to happen eventually from all of this?
I think it's going to get an even bigger circus. Yeah. I mean, the two people and the personalities involved in this are just going to clash head to head.
Yeah, I'll share the rest of my time here with you.
It's part of the press tour. Like, as much as the lawyers got involved, this is part of the press tour. Like, that's how they're generating buzz about this fight. The fine was never going to happen.
Yeah. So that's enough time. We ran out of time here for that topic. The very next topic is something I think all of us have, you know, placed at the back of our heads. You know, referees kind of stopping these fights, not being too early, and then sometimes too late. So what kind of penalties, James, do you feel should be upon these? Because we saw something happen in Brazil, you know, a couple of times this past weekend at UFC Fight Night, where the guy wasn't even out or the guy was still moving and the ref just randomly stepped in there.
Well, and the one that was the most embarrassing was the gentleman was moving back into what looked like a dominant position when the referee stopped the fight, and Dana White made some comments publicly about his thoughts on it. I think there should be some sort of commission for the referees, but when you're having fights internationally, how do you accomplish something along those lines? Are there going to be bad decisions? Absolutely. I mean, it's a human error. It's going to happen. It happens in football, basketball, baseball. It's going to happen in mixed martial arts.
Yeah, John, we'll give you a little bit more time because, you know, you have a lot of this going on with John Judy. Of course, you know, as a promoter, you have all this going on. You see refs, if not on a monthly basis, make some questionable mistakes. So what do you feel about?
You know, mistakes are going to be made. That's human nature. It's going to happen. The thing that bothers me is that when the same refs are making the same mistakes over and over again, and there's no recourse from any athletic commission, any type of punishment, some type of re-education.
And Brazil's one
if you will.
without a commission.
Exactly. So to me, that's something that we need to address. These are things that can be corrected or can be made better, or we just don't use the refs anymore. And then when we get in this situation with Brazil where they're talking about, hey, we need to, my overtime here?
Your time's up.
Where
Just kidding.
Go ahead.
where they say that we
highlight.
can't correct this, that's wrong. If something can be corrected, if it's clearly right there that it's wrong, you should make the appropriate amends and get it taken care of.
To follow up from a fighter's point of view, how would you feel if a fight just ended and you were completely fine and you had top position?
Heartbroken. Like you work, 9 weeks or whatever it is to go and compete, and then for somebody to be like, oh hey, my judgment says you're done. Like I couldn't even imagine that. Just heartbroken, because fighters put everything into training.
Yeah.
And for somebody to step in and just say, hey, you know what, I think you're done.
Yeah.
If I'm not done, that's why we're in there. We're fighters,
Yeah.
Sorry, I stole your time.
No,
but
it's
if you
all
want
right.
to fight, we can.
I'm on the clock now, but I feel like, in essence, the same way you guys do. It are things that can be corrected. And very quickly, I'm not sure how the UFC can actually handle this. If another commission, I guess, took care of this, would it be ruled a no contest? I mean, what can you possibly do? You might have a better
Well, I know
idea.
they filed an appeal. I just don't know what's going to happen with it.
There's certain criteria it has to meet in order to be overturned.
Okay.
And if that's not listed in there, the commission's back down and say, hey, it's not listed as something we can do. Washed our hands of it, we tried.
Very next topic will stay along the lines of MMA, specifically a very colorful figure in MMA, Conor McGregor. Is he a good thing or a bad thing or somewhere in between for MMA, John?
You know what? I don't think it's a bad thing. I do think it's a good thing because it's bringing some recognition to the sport from fans that are outside of it. Now, maybe he says some things that I don't personally agree with. Every athlete in every sport does that. But like they say, all press is good press, right? So.
What do you think about the fight? I mean, him and Jose Aldo being seriously disrespected. There's a lot of times where people try to hype that up. But,
My money's on Jose.
yeah. How?
I think he'll finish him.
Yeah.
Late, but I think he'll finish him.
Yeah. You obviously are a big boxing guy. We've seen guys that come out a little cocky like that. Obviously, Ali, the most known. Pernell Whitaker was like that also. Adrian Broner now. Mayweather to some regard, not to this level, obviously, but what do you think about him?
Well, and I mean, you mentioned that, and Layla Ali coming out this week on SportsCenter and saying that she was unbeatable in boxing. I thought that was interesting. But Conor, no, I think he's great for the sport. I really do. At some point, I think the UFC, the fighter pool did get a little watered down to where there wasn't that name that everybody could attach to as a common fan. And despite his misgivings, it sells. That's the unfortunate reality.
Yeah. You're the complete opposite. You're like the humble fighter. So when you see something like this, are you still entertained? And how would you react if it was your opponent?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, everybody's different. Everybody has to get into their own mental space to be able to perform. And maybe that's where Conor needs to be, and that's fine. I think it's great for the sport. Whatever, like James said, there isn't that many household names in the UFC right now because you have UFC fights every single weekend. So Conor McGregor, that sticks in my head because he's the guy talking all the time. Oh, so now he's the household name. I mean, he sold that. That's great. I think it's awesome. As far as it being my opponent, that's cool too. Whatever. You do your thing, I'll do mine, and we'll meet in the cage.
I think it's just very unlikely and out of nowhere a lot of the times when it's a foreigner doing this on American soil. The only guy I could see that stood out like that, correct me if I'm wrong, Prince Nassim Hamed was very cocky, but it was fun to watch, and the guy had power in a weight class where guys typically didn't, just knock their people out. So for me, it's almost, it kind of reminds me of the whole hype that was behind that with Prince. So for those kids that have never seen Prince Nassim Hamed's highlights,
Check it out.
make sure to check it out. It's very entertaining.
Sweet science.
Yeah. But that'll do it. I mean, that went by so quick. 3 topics. I'd like to thank you, John, and of course you, James, for coming on board.
always,
Again,
thank
where
you.
can people catch you?
610 The Sports Animal. Check out the station anytime, but 5:35 on Thursdays.
And John, event April 11th.
Yes, we have an event April 11th. That's going to be in Socorro, which is just outside of El Paso, Texas. And then we'll be here back in Albuquerque towards the end of April. So look forward for information on that the next week.
Jody, this was mandatory, so thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you.
Make sure you guys tune in. Next week, we'll have a whole slew of guests in a roundtable panel. Thanks for joining us.